Hi and welcome. In our last Unity tutorial, we saw how to add lights to your scene and what are different types of lights available in Unity Editor and how you can create your own custom light using a emissive material and how you can bake the light. In the end of the tutorial, we saw if we have a dynamic object in our scene and baked lights, then the baked lights actually do not affect the dynamic object. As you can see in the scene here, we have a dynamic object, a cube, and the sphere is basically an emissive material, and the plane is a static object. And since the cube is a dynamic object, it is not receiving any kind of light. Now, there are two ways to solve it. One is using real-time lights, and if you use real-time lights, the direct light will fall on the cube, and the cube will be lit, and you'll also receive shadows. The other option is using light probes. Now, in case of a small scene, you can use real-time light. The performance expense is not much, but in case of a large game, if you start using multiple real-time lights, then the performance of the game gets affected. So you can use the light probes, which basically saves the data in a particular area, and the light probes will then use the data saved to light up a dynamic object. To add light probes to your scene, just click on the plus sign in the hierarchy window, then go to light and click on light probe group. So this will add light probes to a default location. So the yellow spheres that you're able to see are the light probes. By default, Unity adds 8 light probes. Now you can edit this light probes by selecting the light probe group in the hierarchy and clicking on edit light probes. So then you can just select the light probes that you want to edit. You can also duplicate the light probes by clicking on duplicate selected. And then you can move the light probes as you move game objects in your scene. Now the next question is where to place the light probes. In general practice, it is better to place the light probes where there is a change in intensity and direction of the light. So you can see that this emissive sphere is very bright at the center, so we need light probes here. And as we move further, the light has decreased much at this point, and here it is completely dark. So we'll place light probes near the sphere and little bit away where the transition is happening from the orange light to the shadows, and one more light probe where it is completely dark. So we'll duplicate this again and then we'll move it further here. So we'll do that for all sides. So now you can see we have placed the light probes around the light source. One thing to keep in mind is you should not place the light probe inside a game object, so that will lead to calculation errors and the lighting will not look natural. So after placing the light probes, the next thing is to bake the lighting again. So we'll click on generate lighting. So it will take some time and bake the data into the light probes. And once the baking is done, you can see that the dynamic game object, our cube, is also getting affected by the light. If you are in the scene view and you select the cube, it will basically show you from which light probe the cube is receiving the lights. And once you start moving, the light probes that is actually affecting the cube is also changing. So using light probes is actually very performance effective compared to a real-time light. So the only problem is placing the light probes. You have to patiently place the light probes. The end result of light probe is much better than a real-time light. So if you have an indoor scene, I recommend using a light probe rather than using real-time light. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be seeing about reflection probes. So if you have any questions regarding light probes, you can leave them in the comment box below. Thank you and see you again in the next tutorial.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.